Welcome back to Think Tech Hawaii. Today we're doing Asia in Review in the 4 to 5 block here on Monday. Ooh, the 30th already. And we have our special guest from Beijing, Russell Leu. He's an attorney who practices there for the past 10 plus years, but going on 20, I suppose. Now with a firm called Shepherd Mullen, which is an American law firm out of the U.S. with an office in Beijing. And he gets to see a lot from his vantage in Beijing. And today we've styled the show, Is Hawaii Ready for the Chinese? And we'll talk about what Hawaii needs to do to get ready and also to attract money from China. You know, there's a lot of issues. Russell thinks about this all the time. Welcome back to the show, Russell.
Thank you, Jay. I'm very happy to be here. And here I love Hawaii. This is my home. And 25 years ago, I actually was with the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and I had a campaign called Making Hawaii Chinese Friendlier so we could get more money investments. I was too early then, but I think the time is happening now.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, you know, there's been so much talk in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years. I mean, the whole thing, you know, just to put it in perspective, myself, I was not really aware of what was going on in China until the early 2000s. When I saw a guy named Chris McNally, who now teaches at Chaminade, but at the time he was doing economics at the East-West Center and specializing in China, and he gave a lecture at the Bank of Hawaii, and I was invited, and he talked about capitalism in China, and I, like a lot of people, had no idea until somebody told me. Then I began to follow it, and I, had a few trips, and I met you, and got up to my shoulders in it, and I really enjoy following China and figuring out what it means to us. When I say us, I mean not only Hawaii, but the country and the world. And boy, that's an exciting topic. That's one of the reasons we have Asia in Review every week, 3 times every week, so we can follow what's going on. So here on Asia in Review, we're talking about the old saw, that is Hawaii recognizing, the value of having Chinese tourists and investments, and of course whether the Chinese are coming, and whether the Chinese are investing, and what we can do, if anything, to encourage them to do that, assuming we want them to do that. So I guess we should go to the first question first. Do we want the Chinese here? Do we want the Chinese to invest in Hawaii?
Well, the first question, do we want the Chinese here, Jay? I think that really goes to tourism because there's an immediate impact. We are a place that has a fantastic tourism infrastructure, hosting travelers around the world. And just to backtrack, do we want them here? Well, Europe, they've been going to Europe for the last 5-10 years, spending a lot of money in Europe, Italy, France, London. As a result of their travels to London, they're one of the biggest investors in real estate in London, and the kids go to school in London. I haven't seen any bad effects there, just a lot of money being poured in, and they've gone to Canada. 2 years ago I was on a trip with the Chinese tour group into China. It's amazing, Jay, how much money is being generated. All the designer high-end stores are profiting from it. The buses, there'll be 30 to 40 buses, the huge buses lined up at Louis Vuitton or somewhere in Rome and Louis Vuitton. We'd go in there, there'd be about 15 concierge tables, and they can't man all the Chinese. And they were telling me that 10 years before, they're all Japanese-speaking concierge tables. Now there's only one Japanese concierge table. Everything is Chinese.
What are the specific benefits, though, of having them? Like the Japanese came, and I mean, to some people, it wasn't all that good a thing. It fed a lot of money into the economy, but it also raised land values to the point where, as now, we know the local people can't afford the land, and occupancy is much too high all over town. So it's a mixed bag as to whether it was a great idea to encourage, as we did, the Japanese to come here and buy up everything, which is large part what they did. So doesn't the same kind of concern apply to the Chinese? I mean, if they came and did everything that some people would like to see them do, wouldn't we have another bubble?
Well, I think, Jay, well, the important part about it is that we've had some time to look at it, what happened and failed when the Japanese came and invested. We've had some time to think about that. The Chinese investors are very different than other Asian investors. The Chinese tend to think long term. They don't think short term. Now, if you're going to come into economy short term, pump a lot of money, jack the values, yes, it's going to be detrimental. But they're long term thinkers. They buy property long term. They're not going to spin it because a lot of times they're thinking about their child who's now 8 years old. Then they're thinking, well, at some point they can't afford to buy in China. Kid may want to go to school in U.S. You've got a house, rent it out. Again, I think they're very different buying patterns. The Chinese buyer doesn't go in and see something beautiful and say, oh, this is really nice. Aesthetically, it's beautiful. And the Japanese buyers did that, and everybody raised the prices because it was a safe-face thing. The Chinese are very different buyers. They come in, they like something, they don't say it's beautiful, they say how bad it is. And then they start negotiating. And when they negotiate, the price goes downwards, not upwards, Jay. It goes downwards. And so the cultures, you got the Chinese buyer on the run when he starts to say, I don't like this, no, this is not good. This is what they all say, this is not good. It's always the opposite, it's good, and they want it, Jay. So it's a very different buying pattern, so take into account. And again, they're long-term investors. I just bumped into, I won't mention the name, of a very wealthy Chinese real estate developer who's here, been a couple of years. He's integrated in the community. His daughter went to Pono school, and she's American, she's Hawaiian, she goes surfing. They blend into the culture much more easily. Another thing is important, you got to realize that the Chinese today, the young ones in 30s, years old and above, 20 years, all speak fluent English, and they blend into the economy. I just had a call from a friend who was on Kauai. And he was telling me how the Chinese are coming, and it's pretty good because he's saying now that there's one more chop suey place. They charge the same price, but they give double the portion. They blend into the community. You know what the locals want, right? So again, carefully, we look at the patterns are very different. And I think what's important is that you have a very highly educated Chinese students who are graduating the workforce. If they like the place, they like it, they can attract other industries. We don't have to be tourism. We can be really an important place, again, in the world of, software design, so forth. It's clean industries, but we got to give incentives.
So let's talk about tourism first, though.
Sure.
Because am I right to say that, that Hawaii does not have the level of Chinese tourism that it had anticipated? And I think when China, began to emerge, say in the middle 2000s, the first decade of the millennium, that people expected, most people expected, a huge wave of Chinese tourists. Didn't happen. It didn't happen, and furthermore, it's not happening now. And if you go down to Waikiki, which is, tumultuous as ever, and expensive as ever, and really not very friendly to the local people. I had this experience over the weekend yet again. If you go down there, you don't see a lot of Chinese. You see Japanese.
Well, I think, Jay, there's a mixed thing. I was there last this week, going to DFS Galleria, going to the nice place. They're there. I hear them speaking Mandarin, and they're buying. They're in all the stores. Like I was in DF Galleria one day. I had to be an executive there. They're buying expensive bags, but you don't see them because you will see a lot of signage and things in Japanese, and you would assume it's all Japanese, but it's not all true. And which goes to my next point, as to the Chinese, they're here, their spending patterns, their number one priority are luxury goods. But the question is, I have, walking through Waikiki, is, are we ready for them? And I
what
don't
do we
think,
need to do to get ready?
well, first of all, I think it's important that it goes back to a bigger picture, a macro picture, and it's like this, Jay. We have to have the right branding, okay? We have the Hawaii Tourism Authority does a great job getting us out there, the product itself, where sun, surf, sea, sand, beautiful air, hula dancing, beautiful culture. But when they come here, the private sector, are they consistent with the branding? I question that because...
well, when you say the private sector, what do you mean?
Well, for example, the stores, the retail, maybe not so the large stores, but we have a lot of small businesses in Waikiki that really cater to certain language-speaking markets, and people come here, the Chinese, and I hear it because I understand language, that they're like, well, we're not welcome here. You know, is this the product? We came here to see Sunsurf, see San Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian music, the chant, the fire dance, and buy luxury goods. But then they don't feel comfortable. And I think that goes part of the issue that I think I'd like to raise. We have something called internationalization, and we have something called globalism. Globalism is where we take our product outside all around the world. It's one standard, high standard, and when people come and test a product, they're not disappointed. This is what they expect. Internationalization is where we take the product, we tinker it, and we cater to certain markets. And then you get a confusion among markets. And it's not what they expect. This is not the way they expect. And again, I raise that point because I think that in the terms of our business here, we need to get together as a community. We need to push together with HTA. We need to do the branding.
What should we do?
Well, for example, I've always been an advocate of saying, I like to hear English and Hawaiian. Coming off the Wiki bus. Nobody may understand Hawaiian, except it's beautiful. It's, you know, you're in Hawaii, you're branding. And I was on the last Wiki bus, and there were a lot of Chinese coming through Korean Airlines. And they wouldn't understand why they're English and Japanese. And they were just bewildered. And again, I'm just saying it's a confusion that you're causing the consumer.
But have they been led to think that there would be Chinese spoken here?
They're not led to think there's anything else but English in Hawaii. Hawaii, the chant, the music. When you go on a, for example, I was on a China Southern flight, and I saw the show about Hawaii. You hear the chants, the music in Hawaiian, and the beautiful sunset.
The Waikiki
The
shtick.
Waikiki, well, not a Waikiki, but Polynesian culture, in fact.
Okay.
And it's there. You
All
expect
right.
to.
So they expect to see that when they come?
Yeah, they expect to see it. That's why there's something interesting, something very different. They're much more, I say, adventurous than other people.
So what would satisfy this need? What would make it consistent? What would polish the brand? You know, make the brand integrated somehow.
Well, you know, in the old days, I remember they used to have that King Kamehameha sign, you know, around the island, wherever you went, the stops.
Yeah.
I would say put those up, put in a computer. You have a state of tourism way,
Yeah.
chats with music.
Yeah.
And then now in Waikiki, the special design districts for tourists, let's make it for everyone. Let's make it Hawaiian and English. You know, inside the stores, I always would say, it's okay you have Japanese speakers, Chinese speakers, but the first thing is say, aloha, how are you? And then you find out where they're from. Where they're from, you get a language speaker from that area. Then people feel treated, oh, this is really royal, this is special, this is Hawaii.
I remember we've been having these conversations for 10 years anyway. It's just about 10 years.
It's about 10 years, right?
And you've always said we needed to have Chinese signs in the airport. We need to have Chinese signs in the store. I mean, it should be equal treatment at least.
Yeah.
Of the various groups come here, and it isn't that for some reason, for
Right.
some strange reason. Although I hope you noticed that Neil Abercrombie released, after holding on to it, $74 million to improve the airport, which is actually a $1 billion job. But hey, you got to begin somewhere.
Right.
And I wonder if the $74 million that he finally released has a lot to do with Chinese signs.
Well, I think it's important that Chinese signs will go in public places where it's Japanese, Korean, okay? Like, for example, airport, okay? Where, remember, the first and last impression a visitor gets is when they come out in the airport, walk down to the customs, and when they leave. If they feel not welcome, you've lost them.
Yeah.
And you've got to realize that the Chinese culture is a very word-of-mouth culture. I'll give you an example. Their big place of destination for Sunsurf and Stand is an old European resort in Maldives Islands out in the ocean. Sunsurf Sea, separate islands. They'll spend $2,000 a night for a villa. They travel in groups, friends, and they spend and buy luxury goods. Okay, and there was an incident last year where one hotel took out all the hot kettle pots. The Chinese use that to make tea at night. Okay, and so they took it all out, and all of a sudden, in 1 or 2 days, they got blasted over the internet in China. Everybody was complaining, saying it was discrimination. The employees at the hotel, the Chinese, were saying, yes, you are discriminated.
Ooh.
And it was so bad that then it
tacky.
became a political issue, because that's a lot of money, when they stop those flights.
Yeah.
But going back to the signage, is in the stores, private stores, I suggest keeping it English and Hawaiian, except you have speakers of different languages.
I think what I hear you saying, and I'm not
branding it.
disagreeing, you used to be saying, let's put up Chinese signs.
Yes.
Now you're saying something different.
Yes, I'm saying something different, because being there, I realize that the globalization effect, when I go to McDonald's in Beijing or Kentucky Fried Chicken, I see the signs. It's the same standard signs, okay? Same standard hamburger, same standard, Mac burger. ice cream's all the same. They don't change the product. So what I'm saying is, let's make that product original and real, and we don't change it. We can have language speakers who speak Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. That's great. But the first thing when everybody's greeted in the tourist industry is aloha. You know, get the Hawaii.
And that's what they expect, actually.
That's expected. They want to hear that.
And in the 21st century, English is the standard anyway.
It's a standard anyway, and they all speak English. The kids, 30 years ago, Jay, in China, the government, to their credit, forced a mandatory English core language course throughout, from the first grade all the way to the end of high school. They have English. They can read and write and speak English. They may not have the environment to practice a little bit, so they're a little rusty, but they hear things and they pick it up, and they know what's going on, okay? Not only that, is that if they come here, they'll know, we really have wonderful people in Hawaii that show the lowest spirit. They'll say, oh, go this way, go this way. And you know, these are nice things, but I think the nice thing is the branding. When you come into a store, any store, aloha. That tells a lot.
Well,
People
I mean,
feel touched.
and that kind of store,
Yeah.
that kind of branding is good for the local people too. I think we're in a time here in Hawaii when Hawaiian phrases and language are more important in order to show that we do have a special culture.
And I think that's special. I really think we grew up in a special culture. That's what we relate to everyone else, so they feel it. In Beijing, I take ukulele lessons, you know, and they, you know, there's a Hawaiian culture there. And they have those little plays with the little performances, little kids wearing muumuus, and you'll be amazed. But that's what they expect, Jay. So again, getting back to it, they come from
Before
a
you
culture.
do, we're going to take a short break.
Okay,
break.
good.
That's Russell Leu. He's with Shepard Mullen. He's a Hawaii attorney practicing law in Beijing. And we're talking, at least at the beginning here, about whether Hawaii is ready for the Chinese. But there are other related subjects we're going to get to. This is Asia in Review as part of the Think Tech series. I'm Jay Fidell. Wait one. We'll be right back.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the Think Tech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell of Think Tech. We have some news for you. In addition to our Think Tech TV show and our Asia in Review show on Olelo 54, as of January 1st, we're adding Community Matters to play also 2 hours a week. Check out thinktechhawaii.com for the specific times of each of these shows. We hope you enjoy all three. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidell.
Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem of Think Tech Hawaii, and I want to tell you about our Think Tech talk shows. If you didn't know it, Think Tech streams video and audio for all of its shows live on the internet from 2 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and we replay them all night long on ustream.tv. Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on Think Tech. I'm Maria Kashem, and
We're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell of Think Tech, and we're doing Asia in Review here on a given Monday as we close the year almost. And we have Russell Leu, our special guest from Shepherd Mullen, which is a law firm, American law firm in Beijing, which is where Russell practices law. And today we're talking about whether Hawaii is ready for the Chinese. It's an ongoing conversation. I wish we had better news. I wish we could say, unconditionally, Russell, that Hawaii is ready for the Chinese. Is it?
Well, I think it's a work in progress. It depends how fast we want to move it here.
Okay, so you talked about branding and trying to be consistent with our brand and not trying to stretch our brand to multiple Asian languages. Just speak English and lots of aloha, lots of Hawaiian language. What else?
Well, it's like this branding. There's that basketball player. He raises a lot of attention. He's going to North Korea. He's going to bring an NBA team out there. The people saw him in the Beijing airport doing this. And they're saying he's stealing our Hawaiian sign. That's branding, Everybody knows it. They associate. Again, I like to say about Hawaii, where they want to come here. But they know it's a beautiful place, but I think we need to do the right steps. I think the HSD is doing a great job. The governor, the mayor, doing a great job, but it's timing also. And I think the timing is now because we're going to have direct flights from the China's national carrier, Air
Coming
China.
soon.
Coming, I believe, January 15th, just in time for their
couple of weeks
cover
away.
the Chinese New Year and their spring holiday. That's a big holiday. They leave and they spend money. They go out of the country. Again, and then we're going to have our own carrier, Hawaiian Air, which will start their service in April, direct flights from here to Beijing. So there's a lot of things happening, but we need to
Glad this
support it.
happened.
Really happy. It's good. It'll bring awareness. It'll bring a lot more. So
So what do we have to do to prepare? This is what else do we have to do with our brand and, of course, our infrastructure and the way we deal with this new and potentially, hopefully, large group of visitors and buyers and investors?
Well, Jay, again, it's just the people, it's the culture, it's the aloha greeting. In the old days, it was the old ships would come by Aloha Tower and they'd throw leis in there, and people never forgot that. That really evoked the image of Hawaii to everyone. We need to get that back. We need the community and the private sector to get together. The government is doing its best, but again, these are hard economic times, but we need to start to bring that in back here again. And what's important, again, it's the people, it's the experience.
So what do we do?
So, like for example, for the Waikiki district, I hope hotels and retailers will work together, get a program. Let's all be in unison. When people come in, first thing you say is aloha. You don't say good afternoon in Japanese. You don't say hello in Chinese. Say aloha. You will find out quickly. That's the branding. People remember that. They'll remember how friendly people are.
What else? How does that? How else do you do that? I mean, aside from the language, is there a way that you can convey the same idea outside of language?
Well, I think the key also is to make everyone feel part of this community coming in. Again, that's why I used to say, well, we should have a lot of signs in Chinese too. I said, no, I think being in China, I realized the English is there. We don't need that. But being there, I see the fact that it's become a global world. People expect certain standards. So again, our airports, we're getting money, it's great. The governor's doing a great job. I know these are hard times, but little things tweak it up. I think it's important there maybe to have language tapes along with Japanese and Korean, but you need to be consistent. The last time I left here a few months ago, they had a video, a screen right by when you walk out of the TSA checkpoint near the restaurants up there, and they're in Korean. Not Japanese, not English, not Hawaiian, in Korean, not in English. Again, so it was just destroyed it. And then you go to another section, I think the Hawaiian Airlines side, that there's Hawaiian and there's English. And then you go to another area, it's all Japanese. And so when you have an international traveler, and here's the stats. China is first place in spending in international tourism in 2012. They surpassed everything, $102 billion, surpassing US and Germany. Okay, and the travelers have been incredibly. They were in 2000. There were only 10 million who traveled abroad, and in 2012, 83 million travelers. It's a big industry. Okay, but again, the stats are there. They don't lie, and that was the stats that show that they are for real. And the question I pose is, if they are for real, are we for real? Are we coming with solutions to make it so that we welcome them? They're traveling, but the question is, now we got direct flights, so there's timing. the next question is, are we ready? What do we have in the airports? What do we have? I think it's very difficult. Right now in Asia, there's a little diplomacy going on. There's a little, little differences between countries, and we need to stay out of the politics. We don't accentuate it, but we need to show Hawaii and English. That's what I'm saying. To keep it out of politics, everybody's welcome.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there a little bit of an argument going with some shrine there in Japan?
The shrine, the recent visit, and again, I don't have any views one way or the other, but what I'm saying is that's political, that's government, but the people get affected by it. In their minds, and they're coming here, they don't feel
we
welcome.
don't want them to take their animosity here.
Well, I don't think they'll take their animosity, but they're not going to come, and that's where what? I want them to drop their money off here. I want them to put that money economy.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a reality. It's going to happen. But the one thing that I always say the risk is that Chinese don't have a lot of patience. Meaning if they come here, things don't work out right away, we're going to see the whole herd turn away. Skip
Well,
it.
there's a lot of other places in the world. I mean, to some extent, that's already happened, hasn't it?
It has happened, it has happened. But now that we have direct flights, the big argument for a long time was, well, we got no direct flights. That was our excuse. But now, direct flights. So what are we doing here in the private sector? What are we doing?
So this is a big opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
As you said, this is a moment where we have to act.
This is the moment.
And so, again, what do we do?
Well, I think I told you about what I thought up with the language making.
If I'm the
friendly.
governor, what would you want me to do?
Well, I think what's going to be really important is the priority. Okay, what do the Chinese come here? They're big shoppers. Okay, they spend a lot of money. What are we doing in the community here to making sure that they'll have the shopping experience? Is there anything we can streamline for them to buy and buy and buy, and to streamline it so that everyone feels that they can come here? It's a mecca for shopping. Let's get that industry going. That's important because the reason is that luxury goods in China are probably 20 to 40% higher.
Yeah.
You go to Louis Vuitton, they're not going to buy they're going to come here. What they're going to do is, if they find a cheap flight, say it's going to cost $1,200 round trip ticket, they're going to use the rest of the money to come here and buy on goods.
So did they negotiate?
No, they don't. And this is where
That's so interesting. Go to
10
China,
years ago.
and you always negotiate.
No, Jay, you're wrong. That was 10 years ago. There's a culture shift, and I've seen
Really?
it. And there's a culture shift.
This is
I
an
feel
interesting
the only
change.
one place in China you can do that. One place is the silk market. One place.
Okay.
And you go to the stores, you cannot
This is in
negotiate. Everybody expects to pay what's listed on
You
there.
took me there.
I took you there, but it swung the other way. So, the other thing is, it was interesting. I saw them talking about they're knocking down International Marketplace. They're going to put it Saks Fifth Avenue. And that's an example of business globalization. They don't negotiate for cheap things in China. 10 years ago, they would come here probably to buy trinkets, little coconut things to buy. Now they buy Louis Vuitton bags. They buy many things. I brought this a group of high school basketball championship players. When they came, you know what they bought? One guy bought a Gucci knapsack for $1,700 and a G all over. And I looked at it and said, "Why are you buying this? There's no leather, But it's the name, the brand, you see? And again, they are shoppers. They are real shoppers, and they want the best. And as I always joke around, Louis Vuitton must be saying, well, for the years we've been saying, stop this fake goods. But they're probably happy because the more fake goods out there, the more desire people have. When I get the money, Jay, I'm going to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, the real thing.
So are you suggesting that we want to change our retail paradigm somehow?
Yes.
That we ought to sort of broaden it up, stop speaking specific Asian languages, just all speak English.
Speak English, Hawaiian.
There's nothing like numbers. That's the universal word.
They know the number, dollars. Dollars. 6 renminbi for $1, okay?
There it is.
There it is. But you know what's interesting is that the other thing is infrastructure. We've got an old Waikiki. We need to actually, along Kalakaua, yeah, it's great. It looks like it's changed.
Yeah.
But overall, the line beyond that, it's still a 60 motif. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know. But the one thing that is that what we need as priority is that, from what I understand from Hawaii Tourism Authority, that 80 to 90% of the rooms are already occupied without the Chinese. When the Chinese come, where are you going to put them? That's a pressing issue, Jay.
They won't come if they can't get a room.
They won't come, and the airlines can't fill them up, and they're going to say, well, let's cut this route.
So all the seats on the planes, but they'll be empty.
They'll be empty. Again, they'll be empty. So, that's an immediate concern, And there are certain, like the Japanese like to live or stay in a certain area. The Chinese may want to be closer shop. We need to fill that mix. It's a mix we have to figure out.
So when you say infrastructure, you mean like hotels?
I mean hotels.
We need to build more hotels, is that?
I need to build hotels, attract investments. What are we doing to attract investments? And that's where I go to the Chinese model, the way the government does it. Maybe we create incentives because we need money where it's tight. We need money, people to take a risk, to put a stake in the community. This is not short term, this is long term. They become citizens in our community. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to spend that money, it's going to be long term. It's not going to be short term, definitely. You don't see hotels flipped, every 2 years.
No, but for a hotel to be built, it's got to pencil out.
Yes.
And so it's a chicken egg problem with the Chinese, who aren't yet coming, but who would come, I'll put it this way, who won't come if there's no hotel rooms, and presumably would come if there are
Jay had a
hotel
great
rooms.
article. I'm sorry I didn't have time to print it up. It was about Wanda, another big Chinese conglomerate there. They bought the AMC theater chains. They have hotels. They're entertainment. They're planning a big, massive outbound investment to the major cities, New York, San Francisco. We're not on the list.
Well, I know. It just strikes me that the
Big money.
solution to the problem, the infrastructure problem, if you will, is to have the Chinese invest in the infrastructure.
That's right.
Which is what they presumably would do. They'll like that. They will see the opportunity and take it.
And that's what we need to be proactive. And there was another article, I'm sorry to bring it. It was in the Wall Street Journal a few days ago about the city of Toledo. This Podunk, Ohio city. I've been there. My old law firm, this one had a small office, second floor, run
I
down.
remember that, yeah.
Looking outside, I said, well, what's out here? And I realized that the mayor there has done a successful job because they found a little niche. They found that they had this project where they want to do a glass museum because they're known for glassworks. They couldn't get it done in the U.S. They couldn't find anybody who has to do it, who would take the risk and to do this. It was a major, so they went to China. They found this glass place. They came and did the rest, and it's beautiful, it's done. But 7 years they developed this relationship. It's a relationship, long-term relationship. And they brought in this investors from China, and they're putting a lot of money into the infrastructure. They're revitalizing the city, the tourist areas, the whole restaurants, hotels. They're doing that. And
They did that by bonding up with Guangxi, by
developing a relationship.
develop relationship, and then they suggested to the Chinese that there would be a good investment in Toledo, Ohio.
Yes. And the Chinese are very interested in culture because when they become your friends, they do many things for you, Jay.
Yeah.
And they believe in you. They'll trust you.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, thoughts of double-digit returns in 2 years starts to fade away. Say, I like this place. This is a long term. The airlines are coming here. They're being supported, and the local community is welcoming us, Jay.
Right, and they can get their kids educated here and have all the right connections here, so that there's a benefit every
That's
day
right.
for them. It's like they could live here. I mean, not
That's
full
right.
time, maybe not all of them, but some of them could. And so there's every reason. But what are we doing? And I'm going to leave you hanging on this because we're going to take a break in a minute. What are we doing actually right now to incentivize them to come here and put their kids in school here and make make investments here, make investments hotels and more than condos, but commercial buildings, who knows what, because that would be perfect. They're not doing it now. It's obvious they would benefit by it. What are we doing to bring the two things together? We'll be right back. This is Russell Leu. He's a Hawaii lawyer practicing in Beijing with a firm called Shepherd Mullen, which is an American firm doing business in Beijing. We're talking about whether Hawaii is ready for the Chinese here on Asia in Review. We'll be right back. Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaiian Foreign Trade Zone, number 9, has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBED, the Hawaii Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program. It does so to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Jay Fidell of ThinkTech. Mahalo. We're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell for ThinkTech. here on Asia in Review on a given Monday afternoon as the year winds down into the last few hours. And we're spending time with Russell Leu, who is a Hawaii lawyer practicing law in Beijing for 10 years now. He's with Shepard Mullen, and he's here, I guess, for the holidays or for one of his multiple trips every year. And we're asking him to illuminate us on whether Hawaii is ready for the Chinese. Okay, and the question before the House is, how do, I guess we've sort of established that it could be, but it isn't. And then the question is, who does what? What do I do? What do you do? What does the governor do to anoint us with unctions and oils and make us ready?
Jay, that's a very good question. I've thought it long and over being in Beijing, and it goes back to the fundamentals of marketing. I was a marketing student at UH. Professor Wills was the professor who said 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. We have the product. We need to fix the branding. We need to make the product here consistent with what we promote. We have the promotion. HTSA, they do a wonderful job of getting out there. They've got a new contractor, Chinese age, who's helping them, and she's a dynamite. I've met her, and I think we're going to see good things. So we got that going. Product, price, place. Price, okay, we're still cheaper than the Maldives, so I think we have an advantage actually. We can do a better infrastructure for shoppers, okay, and give great prices. They love outlets. You could stand another outlet.
What about getting the Chinese to invest in the infrastructure? That was kind of where we left it.
I'm going to get to that in a second,
Okay.
Jay. And product, place, last is place. What I mean by place is not place here. In the marketing sense, place means the distribution channel. Okay, we're getting the flights now, but what we're not doing there is the relationship building that's very important. In the Chinese world, the business goes and flows when you start to develop personal relations. They'll do things for you that you won't believe.
How do you do that? How do I do that? How do my friends and relatives do it? How do we do
We
that?
need to, I can't tell how we should do it, but I'll tell you what I observe. For example, I go to a lot of functions that are thrown by University of Southern California, University of Wisconsin, the Lieutenant Governor of Indiana comes. I see a lot of important trade missions. And these are important. I think we should really focus on trade missions with tourism.
It's government trade missions.
Government will come in with the private sector, Polynesian Culture Center.
Who
all that.
organizes the trade missions?
Well, I think we organize at the University of Hawaii also a joint mission where the costs are shared.
So it means anybody in the room could organize the mission. It could be the university, it could be the business section, it could be the government.
Right. But we don't organize things together. That's how we do it. We're doing disjointed. I hear that there's East West Center. They're here for some birthday in China, the Beijing University. And I'm thinking, well, it's odd. They should reach out more to people in the community that can help them. Let's bring a travel section with it. Okay. I'm a vice dean at a law school for a Beijing major law school, and I'm thinking, I know people, maybe I could help them out. For example, I used to host apartment fellows from China Daily and Xinhua News. There are 100 of them. They want to come to a Hawaii event. They spread news quickly. Again, it's how you look at it's developing the relationships and finding out, okay, we go there, we should maximize this, and to bring in support. A lot of expats are out there that can help you. For example, I'm planning a luau coming this certain time, and you know what? The place I'm going to do it is a Mexican restaurant, but we're going to clear it out. We're going to put the Hawaii flag on there, and we're going to have Hawaiian food for that night. And the funny thing about it is that he went to school here in grad school with UH, so he loves Hawaii, considered Hawaii. Second, above him is the #1 pizza restaurant in Beijing. He's famous in Beijing, and he went to University of Hawaii. There's a lot of important expats that can do a lot of good things for you, but nobody seems to be reaching out, and so it's important.
What are the challenges? I mean, why is that? If we always ask in the show, what are the challenges of getting to where you think we ought to go? So let's assume that that we all agree that we have to do this. We have to do Guanxi. We have to establish relationships. We have to have them come here and find a comfortable, friendly, warm cloth mother, kind of experience. And we have to show them that investing is good here, as opposed to many other places which they might at the same time consider. What are the challenges? What is standing in the way?
Well, I think what's standing in the way is that there's a couple things here. Is that they perceive the community here first as not business. You don't favor business. They know that. Number two, they know it's a beautiful place. Number three, again, is I think a big incubator could be the University of Hawaii. I mean, really big incubator, because remember, students come here, they're by tons traveling, going abroad to U.S. schools, undergraduate schools now, okay? And they have lawyer teacher schools. They have friends, they have guanxi, they have relationship. Everybody has a relationship. You just don't know you just don't know that they don't have it. And that can bring it's a multiplier effect. If I can bring in somebody who will bring in 5 other people, who brings in 10 people, that's great. It's a multiplier. We seem to get thinking short-term investments. If the money's not here, well, I'm not going to do anything.
No, but these
Well,
are also
it's a
the
business
fragmented.
justification.
You know, you said we have groups who would like to organize trade missions, but it's this group and it's that group, and they're all in silos and they don't get together.
I think we need to have a several high-level government here with leading with the businesses. They have to join together. The Chinese world, you know, again, that government thing gives a sense of seal of approval.
Yeah.
And that we are serious
Absolutely.
and we're interested. I think that's important. You know, you can't change that. It's any culture. You know, the Chinese, when they travel abroad, you know, the seal of approval.
Well, it's like, I remember that when the government went to China in my day, the Chinese were always very impressed with, you know, welcoming government officials. They would do much more for a government official than they would for a business guy, unless he was some multinational CEO or something.
And there's a difference. A few years ago, we didn't have the product. The timing wasn't right. Now when the governor goes, we have the product, we have the timing, we have the luxury goods, we have the places.
So we ought to change our way of dealing then. When we send trade missions over, their approach should be different than it was. Because we have the product, right? We should conduct ourselves differently in achieving.
That's right. We should look for results and agreements to bring them here, you know, and better things, you know, and hear their concerns.
Yeah.
We just need to develop the relationships to make that, as I call that 4 Ps, that place, that channel distribution much more smoother.
How are we going to keep up with all the competition in the world? You know, is what you're saying is it's a good thing to have the Chinese come here as tourists to buy high-end goods, and as investors to, you know, buy, say, commercial buildings or hotels, and then feed them right back, you know, into their own tourism loop. But there's a lot of other places in the world that are akamai now about tourism, that know as much or nearly as much as we do about tourism, and may have their own, you know, points of attraction.
But
what do we do to compete with those other places?
Well, that's a good question. I was with a Chinese visitor who's a lawyer, and he's very wealthy. He's looking to buy a house here, and he asked Russell. He came here and he was sold on it right away because he found another Chinese who had been here for a number of years, who's wealthy, and his wife was telling how beautiful this place is, and she's healthy. She goes hiking. They do a healthy lifestyle, and they know that this is the real deal: clean air, beautiful people, no crime, the intangibles, and they want to invest in the community. When they live here, they actually are investing in the community. And what I've seen is that we have a lot of things going for us, all of this, but the trick is, at this point, timing. Are we making ourselves a place friendlier to Chinese tourists? And that's the question that I pose. You know, I can't tell an answer on that. That's the will of the people. China is not where it would be today unless it's for the will of the people. They want it. And the question is, do we want it? And you're going to have to want it if you want to see things. I hear people complaining, say, well, we don't want Chinese, they're going to mucky up the place, drive up prices. But you know what? It's always risk. This is a business thing. Again, you know, if we don't have it, think about this. When I grew up, I always would feel sad thinking that this is a place where only you could clean hotels. The kids today don't have jobs here. They got to go elsewhere, Jay. Otherwise, you're going to clean hotels. I want to see good money coming in, so there's alternatives. I want to see I really think that the university can find a way. I'd sure like to see a China plan. You know, what are you guys going to do? Get more Chinese students? Okay, that's great, because the more they come here, the more the word will be spread that this is a good place. And then they want to invest in this place.
Are you
resources.
suggesting that we ought to do something around education to make
Yes.
Hawaii a more attractive place for Chinese parents that want their kids to go to school here? Or, I don't know, anyone in China who may want to go to school here? And if you are suggesting that, exactly how do we do that?
Well, let me give you the picture of China, so you know what's it like. It's a very small few percentage, 0.001, whatever percentage, that will get into the top 4 schools, Beijing University, Tsinghua, Renmin University, very few. So parents have realized that, especially the ones with money. By the time that these kids are about 10 years old, they know that they can't go that track. So they start looking, okay, they don't think in China, they're global thinkers. Where can we go? A beautiful place. Invest, have a house. Okay, a kid can go to school in the US. They've already figured that out. So, you need to make this place a place where, you have these opportunities. And again, it's great, but I think that the number of seats at Punho, Iolani, and all Mid-Pac are so limited. It's limited. We don't have.
Buy Punahou or Iolani or create a third private school with lots of money that would compete with those schools. Why doesn't an American do that, or an American educational group, even a nonprofit, do that? So to create a school and have the benefit of all those Chinese kids coming here, wouldn't that be something?
Well, that'd be great in the education system. In Beijing, there's so many number of good international schools, and the tuition is the same or more than what you would pay.
We should do that here. And actually, now that we think about it, it doesn't have to be limited to Chinese. It could be an international school.
Well, that's exactly another point where I think you've hit it, Jay. Go around, look who are the national schools in China. Can we get them to come here? Can we get them to invest in here with Chinese partners and to create schools? The curriculum would be an American school, with great English. Kids, can get into great colleges. I think that's important, again. Finding that product, bringing what's established, bring it here. There are other alternatives, but again, what do we offer for them for incentives? China was built on government incentives for business to come and invest. It's a reality, and maybe, I don't know, I've been here way too long, but maybe there are ways that we could do that in some fashion to bring good, clean investment in education, things like that.
Actually, Russell, I think it's almost time for you to come back and operate at this end of the pipeline instead of that end. You can only do so much in Beijing if you want to bring people to Hawaii. If you're in Hawaii, maybe you... Only kidding. That's Russell Leu. He's with Shepard Mullen. He's an attorney practicing in Beijing now for 10 years plus, and he makes very frequent trips to Hawaii, follows the action in Hawaii at every corner, and wants to see the connection grow. Wants to see the Chinese come here, wants to see them invest. Thank you very much, Russell, for coming.
Thank you, Shane. Look forward to seeing you next time on my next trip.
Please, we look forward, always. This is Asia in Review, part of the Think Tech series. I'm Jay Fidell. Aloha, and we'll see you tomorrow for a discussion of the bus ads here in the city and county of Honolulu with Eric Soderholm, which actually he sells buses. Aloha, see you then.